kindly introduce yourself for us, please?
Chair Bynum, members of the committee, Mike Gatlin. I have 2 minutes and 49 seconds, and I will not go a minute over.
Great, thank you.
I'm the board chair for the Cannabis Industry Alliance of Oregon, and I'm also the director of public affairs for Nectar Markets. Nectar is the largest retailer in Oregon with 40 stores and approximately 650 employees in every corner of the state. I want to talk today about who's going to pay for this tax if it moves forward, and there really are two options. There's consumers or businesses. Speaking to the first, given Nectar's position in the market, we have a lot of data, a lot of historical data about consumer purchasing habits in cannabis across Oregon. And it clearly shows that inflation and the economic pressures that all of our citizens are under have had a particularly impactful a role in purchasing decisions for marijuana. We know Oregon consumers are extremely price conscious when it comes to our products, and cannabis budgets are not flexible. And so the idea that increasing sales tax won't simply drive people to the black market where unsafe, untested, and untaxed marijuana products are still readily available and cheap simply isn't borne out by the fact pattern and the numbers that we see. So the sales tax can't really be passed on to consumers, which means it'll probably be pushed down the supply chain. We also work with a large network of small business vendors across the state, big and small, I should say, in every part of Oregon. And the severe overcrowding in our cannabis market over the last couple of years, combined with the other economic damages occurring to members of our community is really staggering. And we're seeing these mostly mom and pop small business vendors are already barely holding on. Most have invested their life savings. Many have taken hard money loans with terms you can't possibly imagine, all without federal bankruptcy protection in case it goes wrong. So that's one option for who we're passing this tax on to. If theoretically we could pass it on to consumers, I think it's worth a quick look at who these consumers are. We'll have submitted for your consideration a Quinn Thomas and DHM research study from 2019 that tries to answer some of these questions. And it's a study across a series of mature adult use states that showed really clearly that all the demographics of cannabis users mirror the demographics of your constituents almost perfectly. You're no more or less likely to purchase cannabis if you're in one part of our society or another. But where it differs significantly is with income levels. And that study shows that 2/3 of cannabis consumers have a household income under $75,000 a year in Oregon. Even more staggering, people with a household income under $25,000 a year were twice as likely to have spent $500 of that on cannabis products in the last year. The people that are buying these tend to be disproportionately lower income, high drug war impacted communities. The last question is, why are they buying cannabis? And this study tried to answer those questions as well, and it was very clear. The top two reasons by far were to reduce stress and reduce pain.
If you could wrap up your testimony.
Yep.
Thank you.
So on whose shoulders is this new tax going to fall? Small business owners on the brink or consumers that are already dealing with everything that they can deal with? Chair Nathanson has been in the House Revenue Committee, has been working on a work group that we've participated in for the last couple of years, trying to solve the exact problems that Representative Owens and Senator Finley are talking about. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Please.
Thank you. Chair Bynum, members of the committee, for the record, my name is Amanda Metzler. I am the founder of Farms Inc., Oregon's Cannabis Farm Advocates, and chair the Josephine County Cannabis Advisory Panel. I am also, my husband and I are the owner-operators of Bigsby Farms, which is a small craft cannabis farm located in Southern Oregon, Williams to be exact. Oregon has always fostered small business and protected small family farms. And the truth is, any increase in the tax is going to come directly down to the farmer. Why, do you ask? Because we are the last ones to get paid in our current system. The system that's happening in the cannabis industry now is a consignment-based system. While not the intent, it is currently the fact. What happens is we as the farmers put in all of the money up front to grow, harvest, trim, test. Then we give it to the wholesaler on consignment. The wholesaler then brokers a deal with a dispensary anywhere from net 15 to net 60 days. If and when the dispensary decides to pay, then the wholesaler takes 20% off the top and the money comes back to the farmer. This model makes the farmer the bank because, in all honesty, consignment is a loan. We, as the small independent farmers, are not going to be able to bear another cost of production, and an increase in tax is going to come directly down to us as the small farmer. It will be the nail in the coffin, if not for a few of us, for all of us. I myself have had to lay off my entire staff to be able to survive, and so have many of my other colleagues. So we ask you to oppose this because we do not have a marijuana tax problem. We have a marijuana tax distribution problem. There is not an issue with the amount of tax money coming in. There is an issue with the monopoly that is happening on that cannabis tax money. We also agree that cities and counties should be able to grow as the industry grows in their county, and capping any amount of money that's allotted to them will never allow that to happen and bring us back here again. So with that, thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. And then,
Madam Chair, Representatives, my name is Domingo Moya, co-founder of Holy Grail Farms and Extract. We're a vertically integrated company here since the onset of the OLCC market in Oregon, and I'm here in opposition of HB 2025. And the reason is, you know, Oregon doesn't have a sales tax because that's the most regressive type of tax that affects lower income folks. And I don't believe that, given the issues that we've had with the pandemic, which we even heard the arts and cultural community talking about, that's something that affected everybody. It definitely has had effect on the consumer, the customer, and the small businesses, and even the large MSOs are all feeling it. So nobody is insulated from this. The state has seen inflation going up, has seen unemployment creeping up, and as more businesses close and more companies leave the state, that's not going to make it any better. Revenues per license are down per OLCC numbers, over $116,000. What we have is, since July of 2021, we've seen a steady downturn in sales. That represents lower tax revenues going into the coffers, and that's what we're facing right now. The knee-jerk reaction is always, okay, let's just raise taxes and cover those holes with that. My point here is that doing that is not only going to hurt the small businesses because of the price compression and because of the price points that are going to happen, but it's also going to turn people back to the black market. There is no 7%, 20%, or 13% tax. It is what it is in the black market, and people have given it a go for 5, 6, 7 years in the rec. But if it gets just as expensive, then folks are going to just turn to that, and I ask for your opposition to this. And hopefully we could find another thing through the Revenue Committee to let people increase sales.
thank you. Next person I will call on the list is Jesse Bontico, and then Nikki Terziev, and Fergus Nolan.
Chair Bynum and committee members, thank you very much for today. I'm Jesse Bonacue, Executive Director of the Cannabis Industry Alliance of Oregon. We represent over 500 cannabis businesses, and I'll go as fast as I can. On behalf of our members and the more than 1,600 cannabis industry professionals and customers who signed our petition against House Bill 2505, I'm here to ask you to please do not allow this bill to move forward. Before I get into how our members have responded to this bill, I wanted to clearly lay out the economic situation our industry is in right now. We are suffering through the worst economic downturn we have seen in our short short time lifespan. Total revenue in 2022 was down $180 million from 2021, or 16%. And 2022 was down $116 million from 2020, or 11%. In that same time period between 2020 and 2022, there were 465 new licenses issued. And that is why the total revenue per active license decreased 25% in those 2 years. So it's been a horrible couple of years, and the industry is reeling. And when you hear these numbers, please remember that this industry has no access to traditional banking, financing, loans, which means that all of these businesses were built with personal money from savings, retirement, friends, family, and investors. And those who were able to find non-traditional loans often have interest rates of 15 to 20%. On top of that, we have no bankruptcy protections. So when a cannabis business fails, those people, everything is at risk for them, and or just gone, and everybody who trusted them with their money. And that is why you've probably heard a lot of emotions and comments and written comments from our folks. Finally, our businesses are subject to Federal Tax Code 280, which means that the only thing they can deduct is the cost of goods sold. All of this is to say that we have very little financial flexibility, stability, and cannot absorb financial shocks like other industries might be able to do. That is why the industry is so passionately motivated against this bill, and why I would be just doing a disservice to our members, their families, and employees if I did not communicate to you the depth of emotions I have heard in opposition to this bill over the last 3 days. Utter fear for not being able to weather one more financial burden put upon them and their already struggling businesses. Sadness at the thought of the measures that they will have to take in order to handle another expense, including laying off employees, reducing wages, cutting benefits, and God knows what else. Sorrow for the increased costs they have to pass on to their customers, so many of who are already struggling. And please remember that for many, cannabis is medicine. Frustration that at the time when they are so low and hurting so bad, they're being asked to carry more weight instead of being offered a helping hand to lighten their burden, support the industry, and help make sure it is thriving, robust, and ready for interstate commerce.
Good wrap up.
And finally, feeling betrayed for all that they have done already, growing a billion-dollar industry, creating 20,000 good-paying jobs, massively conturning the illicit market, all of which surviving in the most regulated industry in Oregon. All of this is to say, that is why you hear so much emotions. That is why we were able to get over 1,600 signatures in less than 72 hours, and why I'm here to ask you to please oppose this bill.
Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. Chair Bynum, Vice Chairs, and the rest of the committee, thank you for your time and thank you for your service. My name is Fergus Nolan. I am the Chief Operating Officer for a company called Drops Candies. It's an edible company based in Clackamas, Oregon. We've been in business for a few years, and we are super proud of the team that we've pulled together to get us to where we are, and super proud of the professionalism this team has shown and the contribution they've made to the state. I'm really hoping at some point in the near future, we're not here talking about a regressive tax that impacts the lowest income communities in our state, or is impacting hundreds of businesses where we feel there will be unintended consequences if we move forward with this tax. What do I mean by unintended consequence? You've heard some of this before. One of the great things we did when we made marijuana illegal in this state is we set a tax rate that actually wasn't a hurdle to move out of the black market into the legal side of marijuana. I truly believe with this regressive tax, we're going to pass a threshold where it will become economically unviable for businesses to stay in this industry. Our businesses will decide, because of this situation, they will go back into a black market environment. We'll have consumers, if we pass on this tax, they will no longer come into the legal side of this. They will find ways to go into the black market again. We don't have to look very far. We just have to look at our neighbors to the south, where they have done the wrong thing with tax, And you can see how big the black market is in that particular state. Jesse has the numbers better than I have, but we have a very good market here. Other parts of the country, not so good because they've approached this wrong. I would implore you to absolutely reject this motion. I would ask, this effort, if it was applied in a slightly different way, if we applied it in a way to improve our banking situation for this industry, if we did it to improve the rules and regulations that actually hinder the growth of this industry, and actually got some of those things resolved, that's how you will increase tax, by allowing this business to become truly the business it should be and become a world-class industry for this state of Oregon. So in summary, a regressive tax is going to hit the lowest income people in our state, a situation that's going to have a lot of unintended consequences, and I don't think we're putting our efforts in the right space right now to ensure that we can grow this industry in the right way. I appreciate your time, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Questions? All right, thank you, Ms. Terziev. Nikki, excuse me, it says how to address you, Nikki T. What it says on here.
Chair Bynum, vice chairs, members of the committee, there's only one Nikki T. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to briefly share with you some process pieces to this. I certainly couldn't compare to the stories and to the narrative that you've heard from these licensees. I would call out two things. One is you heard from Amanda Metzler, who's a farmer in Southern Oregon. You know what's happening in Southern Oregon. You know what's happening around her legal property, all of the illegal property, human trafficking, fatalities. It's terrible. Why then would we have a policy that condones that same illegal, illicit activity? It's inviting it in, and we shouldn't be profiting off of that. We should be struggling to make sure that we stave that off. The only other piece I would bring forward, and you heard from Michael Getlin, was that there is a work group. We've been participating for 3 years in a work group alongside Representative Owens and Senator Finley and Representative Nathanson, Representative Marsh, Senator Golden, Senator Brzezinski, and the conversation is about how we drive these dollars to the cities and counties, our partners who really need this. That conversation is about to come to a close. We're going to have some public hearings down the hall with Chair Nathanson. I'd encourage you to go and talk with her about it. It's going to be great. And we designed this conversation in order to be an answer to this need. So cities and counties that'll be down the hall, I would encourage you all to encourage everybody to take that path, this path we've been working on for so long, instead of this kind of one-off patchwork quilt that will, as you've heard, harm our industry. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Mr. Lampman, let's call you. I know I'm going to catch him a little off guard. Mr. Lampman, while you get ready, I think you might be the last person. I have Alan Clark, who's listed as here in person.
And Diane Downey?
I don't have you listed for this. Just a moment.
Remember, I was got put down for the wrong House bill number.
Oh, okay, okay.
I'm speaking in opposition for 2505.
Okay. I am
And
happy
Madam
to-
Chair, you also,
Please.
That's Amy.
That's Amy.
you also
Okay.
have Amy Margolis, Hunter Neubauer, and Tony Birch waiting for 2505.
Right. I will not get to you today. I am happy to take your testimony on another day, and I value the time that you've spent waiting, but it just won't happen today. So,
I appreciate that, Madam Chair. We would be happy to come back and testify on behalf of the Oregon Cannabis Association, and Alan Clark is there also on behalf of the association.
okay. So everyone who signed up today, I'm happy to make you time-certain people at the next available opportunity, because I want to make sure that the message is very clear that we value your time, even though we won't always get to everyone, but I appreciate your patience. Please.
Madam Chair, Vice Chair, Representatives, thank you for the time. My name is Alan Clark, and I'm a small farm down in Bandon, Oregon. I've been on the license market for about 6 years. It's a hard market. We're all farmers. We're all farmers, right? A cannabis farm that goes down is a small cannabis farm. That's a farm that goes down. We talk about the illicit market, but what they don't mention is the illicit market and the crimes against our resources, our water, our land. There's no regulation on the production on the resource market. on the illicit market. It's not just market share being lost and people being priced out. We're exposing ourselves in a way that's not being mentioned. Like we said, unintentional consequences. So not only that, but then we jeopardize a lot of the work of the veterans and the women who have worked extremely hard to carve out a place in the cannabis industry, right? That just puts them under. There's nowhere along the cannabis supply chain that can afford any type of increase. So I'm just speaking in opposition of that, and I hope that you understand that.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Mr. Lampman, you were the last. Oh, okay. And Bo Whitney? Okay. Thanks for being patient, and thanks for raising your hand. Okay.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Bo Whitney. I'm the founder and chief economist at Whitney Economics. We're a economic data research and advisory firm out of Portland, Oregon. While I receive compensation from the cannabis industry, I am not receiving any compensation for this analysis, and I'm not taking a position on the bill. I just wanted to provide some data based upon my analysis. A lot of the data has already been covered. There's some other data that I'd like to bring to your attention. Consumers are extremely price sensitive. It's called elasticity of demand. And when there's an increase in price, there's a decrease in demand. This is calculable. It's very predictable. And based upon the 7% increase in price, it's anticipated that demand will fall 16.8%. And so what this does is demand is shifted over into the illicit market, or the tax burden is borne on the operators themselves. Currently, based upon a business conditions survey that I conducted in the fall, only 21.4% of cannabis businesses in the state of Oregon are profitable, 21.4%. The impact of this bill will decrease revenues in the retail sector by between $10,000 and $20,000 a month, almost $200,000 a year. Revenues in the state in terms of tax revenue, although they will increase locally for cities and counties, they will decline by between $70 and $166 million for the state overall. There's been some comments about how taxes are higher in other states like Washington and California, but in Oregon, where there's a lower tax, there's actually reasonable legal participation by consumers at 74.5% last year. That's down from 90% the year before, but by comparison, Washington's 20% less participation at 55%. So higher taxes do, in fact, suppress demand and suppress legal participation. California is at 42% for comparison. So while there is, and it's understandable that there needs to be additional tax revenues provided to the cities and counties, it doesn't appear that this will be an effective way in which to do so. There may be more effective alternatives to increase the revenues besides a tax increase on cannabis. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And please accept my personal apology. I try to go support, oppose, neutral, and I missed your neutral marker, so I apologize.
No worries. I'm just happy for the opportunity to present today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And did you submit your comments for the record?
Yeah, I will be shortly, just after I get back to my computer.
All right. Thank you. All right. At this time, we will close the public hearing on House Bill 2505 and adjourn our meeting.
I had called him before and told him to get ready.
Was I able to speak?
I won't be able to take your testimony today, and I will carry it over to the next available spot. So, I'm sorry.
Would you like me to reach out to those people and give them the 14 community campus?
Yeah.